Do you know why many Nazis fled to Argentina in the Second World War? And how many hid there for decades without being discovered by the Allied countries? In 1945, when everyone knew that Germany's defeat in the Second World War would only be a matter of time, many Nazis from the lowest to the highest levels of the party began to look for escape routes to leave Europe and try to live a new life, and many chose South America, especially Argentina. But why did they do that? During the entire Second World War, Argentina always had rulers or members of the government who sympathized with the Nazi cause for ideological, economic, and even cultural reasons. Argentina has always been a country where the majority of the population was of German, Italian, and Spanish descent, and many supported the German and Italian fascist regimes. Germany itself realized that it had great sympathy in Argentina, and both countries had good relations. There were a large number of Nazi agents in Buenos Aires, and many Argentine officials and diplomats had very important positions in Europe. Shortly before the Second World War ended, Argentina declared war on Germany, but this was just to maintain good relations with the Allied countries. In fact, what many members of the Argentine government were doing was to try to deceive the Allies and obtain advantages with the end of the war. At the time, Argentina was governed by a man called Juan Perón, who openly supported the Axis and was very sympathetic to totalitarian regimes, especially Hitler's Nazi regime. Having even served in the Italian army in the 1920s, Perón saw that Argentina would have advantages if it accepted fascist refugees, and unofficially, the government began sponsoring and helping many Nazis flee Europe and go to South America. Many rich Nazis were willing to pay large amounts of money to have the opportunity to live a new life and escape the past. And many of them were German officers or scientists, and Perón knew he could use their knowledge for the government's own use to improve his country's army and technology. Everyone at the time also knew that after the end of the war, the Allies and the Communists would create rivalries, and perhaps a new war would happen. President Perón was an anti-communist and knew that he could also take political advantage of Nazi refugees to combat the influence and growth of socialist ideas in Argentina, and perhaps they would be useful in any future conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union. And another big reason why many Nazi criminals went to Argentina is that it was geographically favorable. If we look at the world situation at the time, Europe and North America were controlled by the Allied countries, and Asia and Africa were under the influence of the British and French. But one place that was free from Allied countries was Latin America, especially South America. For many fugitive criminals, Argentina was an opportunity for a new home. After several years, many of them were living openly under different names and stories, but the crimes of the past will always take their toll. A decade later, with the fall of the government of Perón, the Argentine government began to have a bad eye towards the former Nazis living in their country, and the new government became hostile towards them and began to persecute or denounce war fugitives and send them to be tried in Europe or Israel. But unfortunately, not all of them were found, and many assimilated into Argentine culture and were never seen again.